Welcome back to part 2 of my UCAS 101 series. In this video, we're going to cover almost everything you need to know about the dreaded personal statement and the reference letter. So keep watching to learn more. Hi and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Wesley and I'm a final year high school student and Cambridge Medic offer holder. If you watched my last video about the preparation stage, then you've seen this timeline here. And you'll know that the next step is to work on your personal statement. You might think that this is a bit early to put out this video, but this is for 3 reasons. Firstly, a good statement is a result of a long process, and also some of you might have to meet the 16th of October deadline. And finally, some schools just require statements to be submitted earlier for review. For those of you who don't know what a personal statement is, it's a piece of writing that you have to submit with your application on UCAS. There's no explicit section in the application form for you to tell the uni about your character, your values, and your experiences. So this is what the personal statement is for. It should also be specific to your chosen subject, outlining your interests and relevant experiences. Disclaimer, I'm not a professional consultant and everything in this video is just things that I've learned from my research, writing my own statements, and helping my peers construct their successful statements. As the name suggests, a personal statement is supposed to be personal and there's no fixed way or structure to write it. Today's video will be on a general and safer way of writing a personal statement and also how that should work with the reference letter. Enough said, let's begin. The first step of writing a good personal statement, as with any writing, is the preparation. And this follows on from the preparation in the last video. Now what you'd want to do is to list out all the possible content that you want to put in your personal statement. This includes the experiences you've had and the lessons learned from them, including soft skills, knowledge related to your subject, and also even just insight or inspiration. One very important thing to include is your ignition. What sparked your passion for the subject? Throughout your personal statement, your goal should be to show the admissions tutor how passionate you are about your subject. So tell a story about how that started, what are the steps that you took to build on that, and also how the current version of you would be a good candidate for that subject. There are many ways how one might go about a personal statement, but having gone through a few successful statements, building my own and also helping my friends, I found that a thematic approach usually builds a more convincing, more cohesive and engaging personal statement that sells you as a person. So go ahead and prepare a mind map that gives you different combinations about how you could structure a personal statement into different themes according to the list of possible content that you've prepared. For example, for medicine applicants, you could go with clinical and research, or maybe even different medical specialities. For prospective law students, maybe criminal law and commercial law, etc. I'm sure each subject could be broken down into different topics, so just break down your experiences into different aspects within the subject that you're interested in. Jumping into actually writing the thing, since you're on a tight word limit, I highly recommend that you start off the introduction with your ignition. Get straight to the point about how you got interested about the subject and what motivated you to pursue it further. You may have a specific event that triggered that, or maybe not, but regardless, do be specific about which part of the subject that inspires you in order to make it sound convincing. Moving on to the body, this is actually where you use the mind map. So remember that you split your content into different themes. Now each theme should be 1 paragraph. With this in mind, you shouldn't be splitting it into too many themes. I suggest maybe 3 to 4 maximum. Some people might do 1 paragraph academia, 1 paragraph about your extracurriculars, and then finally something about the subject. But in my opinion, 80% of a personal statement, if not 90%, should be related to your subject. So even things that you mention about your character or maybe your academic achievements should also be somehow related to how you would be a good student for that subject. Based on your mind map, you might have several experiences allocated to one specific topic. So don't waste too many words on general statements or introductions. So just jump right into it. If there's a reason why you participated in an experience, mention that. If not, then just say you did this and this, and then something specific that happened as well as the result. When I talk about result, I mean something that you've learned or the outcome due to inspiration from that event. Then at the end, as always, link everything you just talked about back to your subject. One thing to note here, since most of you have done sufficient prep work, I'm sure you have an impressive rota of experiences and books, etc. But that means you might easily run into a trap of just listing out everything and making a personal statement read like a list of CV instead. Do remember that the flow of the personal statement is important, so figure out how to connect between each experience and paragraph, and also make sure that you focus more on the growth from these events than just the event title itself. Moving on to your conclusion, it should be short and sweet. That's it. Don't overcomplicate the conclusion, but it should still feel powerful. You've built a nice body and shown how you're a strong candidate on paper. So bring it home with an emotional conclusion by summing up everything and also demonstrating how your passion is still going strong for the subject. Now remember, there is a word limit on the personal statement, and it's 4,000 characters, not words, or 47 lines, whichever comes first. I suggest typing it out on the Google Doc first because the UCAS platform uses a slightly different metric. Don't worry about the word limit when you're writing at an early stage. It's better to start cutting it and making it shorter when you're nearing the deadline than rush into it. I did 7 major amendments to my own personal statement, so you're looking at a really long process and amendments along the way, and there's no point in making your initial draft lacking in content just because you're trying to fit into the word limit. But the reason why I mentioned the limit of 47 lines is because the UCAS platform does not accept the indented British style of splitting up paragraphs. They use a block style when you copy and paste it onto their platform, and I didn't know that, so my personal statement just ended up being one chunk of words. So if your personal statement isn't really long, then you can actually split up the paragraphs by skipping lines as long as you're within the 47 line limit. Now, while I'm sure you already know, never copy someone else's personal statement, as the technology nowadays has allowed UCAS to build a system to automatically pick up what it deems as possible plagiarism, even just bits and pieces from other people's personal statements. And personally, I don't even recommend referencing other people's personal statement too much, as again, you might easily fall into a trap. Moving on to the reference letter. Now, some of you might find it weird that I put the reference letter and the personal statement in the same video, or that I'm even talking about it at all, since you won't be the one writing it. While one of the reasons why I put them in the same video, aside from the fact that it's not long enough to get its own, is because you are responsible to coordinate with your teacher to perfect the balance between your reference letter and the personal statement. Let me explain. So the changes to the reference letter this year is that they've given instructions to the referee to include 3 distinct sections within the reference letter. Firstly, an introduction about your school. Secondly, extenuating circumstances. And finally, what would be the majority of your reference letter from before, a statement about why you would be the ideal candidate for your subject. In case you're not from a sixth form that already knows all this, then your first task to make sure that the reference letter gets through is to go to your referee and make sure that they understand all the changes that are being made this year, as well as the 4,000 character word limit and also the 47 line limit. Then in order for a reference letter to be able to display your full worth, you should give your referee enough to work with. Now when I mention maintaining the balance with your personal statement, it's because you might not be able to get all your experiences written on it. So contact your referee in advance and give them a list of your experiences as well. This way you give each other time, and if they're willing to cooperate, you can tell them which you've put into your personal statement and which you haven't, so that they can consider what to include in order for the uni to get a wider view of you as an individual. So those are the key things that you have to look out for when preparing your personal statement. I'm sorry if this was a really long video, but there was a lot to cover, and I hope you found this useful. Be sure to check out my other videos and stay tuned for the videos of this series. And guys, I really appreciate if you share this to anyone who might find this useful. As always, if you have any ideas, thoughts or questions, then pop in the comments down below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!